Hello and welcome to the Pawn Pro Pod. Today we have Adam Anundi on from Capital Pawn. Hi Adam, welcome.
Good morning.
How's
Thanks
it
for
going?
having me.
It's nice to have you here. Before we get started, let's just have you start by introducing yourself, where your stores are located, how many you've got, where to check them out.
All right, cool. We started Capital Pawn in Oregon in 2013. I started it from scratch, and now we're with 5 pawn shops and 1 luxury location. That's just all luxury. We don't do any loans there at all.
That's awesome. I talked to Beth a few weeks ago and she said 5 was the dream. Is that still the dream?
See, I don't even remember telling her that 5 was the dream. I probably mentioned it at some point, and she put it in her memory bank that was the goal. And
Yeah.
for me, the goal was just to do something that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And maybe it actually was a goal, but I just kind of lost sight of that because I wanted to focus on the one store until we got really good at what we did
Yeah.
and really understood the business before we started expanding.
And where in Oregon are your stores located?
So we're in the Willamette Valley. So you have Portland up at the north of the Willamette Valley, and you have Eugene where U of O is down at the southern end. There's about 100 miles or so going down there. So we're in Portland, Beaverton, which is a suburb of Portland, then McMinnville, our main store in Salem, which is about 45 minutes south of Portland, and then Albany, which is just south of Salem.
It's awesome. You got that whole corridor going.
We got the corridor, yes, taking it over.
That's awesome. So you mentioned you started your store from scratch. Where was your background in? How pawn? Why pawn?
Yeah, good question. My background, so since the time I graduated high school, I met Beth, and I knew I wanted to marry this girl, so I did not pursue the career of higher education. I went right into work in construction, and because I needed to marry this girl and I needed to make some money. She was going to school at the time, so I went to work in construction, did that until I was almost 30. Started looking around at these other guys that were around my age now, but they looked like they're about 90. They were broken down. It's like, wow, I need to do something different. And so I had just got through building our first house for ourselves. I did that. I wasn't working 10 or 12 hours a day in construction. I'd get off work and go build a house for ourselves. So I built our first house. We moved in 2000, and that inspired me so much of how that helped us, that whole construction program and stuff, because I pounded every nail in that thing. And so I went back to the mortgage broker that did my construction loan. I said, show me what you do, how you do it. Do I need to get school to do this? They're like, no, we just kind of teach people along the way. And so I finally bugged them enough to get an opportunity to do mortgages. So I did mortgages for about the next 10 years. Fast forward, we went through the 08-09 crisis, then kind of the bottom fell out of mortgages. And I was still doing good, actually. 09 was my best year I ever had, but it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to do something different. So what do I enjoy doing? 'Cause I looked around all kinds of stupid different things, like how am I going to make some money? I'm not afraid of a challenge or taking a big risk, because mortgages, when I got into that, was 100% commission. It's sink or swim. It was like, all right, what do I like? I like doing loans. I've been doing loans for a long time, 10 years now. I like helping people out that way. I like firearms. I like buying and selling some crap. And so what gives me the things I actually enjoy doing? Like, well, a pawn shop does. So I started researching pawn shops a lot. Met a guy that had one up in the Portland area, and he said, hey, come on in here and hang out with me whenever you want. So I did that, took that opportunity, and see how the process works. Then I started bringing Beth in a little bit, kind of letting her know my thought process, and she's like, interesting, go research it some more and let me know how it goes. And so I took her up to that pawn shop, and then from that we kind of developed our own idea of what we wanted our store to look like. We wanted to be different from all these other stores that I had walked through in the past, and set ourselves apart from that and run a really nice, clean, friendly, bright type of store that's inviting to families and women and everything else. And so We finally found the location. We knew what area that we wanted to be in. That was really important for us. So it took us about a year to finally find the location for us, and we started out by leasing the building. And a couple of years later, we had the opportunity to actually buy it, which was awesome. So when we got in there, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. So, I'm just throwing things against the wall, spitballing. I worked in there for the first 4 months straight, 7 days a week by myself. I was writing pawn loans over here on my laptop or on the computer, and I've been writing mortgage loans over here on my laptop until the mortgage company kind of figured out what I was doing, and they said, hey, all right, you can't be doing it. So I gave up the mortgage world, and I just focused on the pawn, started hiring a couple of people. Beth was still working at the college level, teaching at the college level at the time. And then we started getting more involved in the pawn industry, going to, Pawn Expo down in Vegas, or, going to other shows, meeting other people, visiting other, as we're traveling to these pawn things, or even traveling in general, going and visiting other pawn shops across the country, and just seeing what I like, what I don't like, what I feel that we can adopt into our own stores and make those subtle changes, or maybe sometimes big changes, and just to make ourselves continuing to improve all the time.
That's awesome. I've talked to like a million pawnbrokers. I think I've never heard somebody say like, I wrote down a list of everything that I liked and it was a pawn shop. That's like really awesome. I think like finding what you love and following it, it's like that saying that's what like you work doing what you love and you never work a day in your life or something like that.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
That's awesome. You talked about traveling and going to Expo. You guys are very social and community driven, I think, within the pawn industry. How did you get so involved, and what was that like meeting pawnbrokers and building, I think, a lot of friendships within the industry?
Well, that's not easy for us at all. I mean, in the first year especially, we're those people over standing next to the wall with the drink in our hand, just kind of watching people go by and give them the head nod, because we're so new to it. We didn't understand this business. I had a perception as we were getting ready to board the plane in Portland to go down to Vegas, like, who are these other people on the plane or pawnbrokers? I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I'm completely new to this. I didn't know what a pawnbroker even looked like at the time. I was looking for big gold chains and greased back hair, and it was like, oh, that guy's probably a pawnbroker. Then I get down to Expo, and it's like, oh my gosh, these are all professionals. These are people that are working on, actually a legitimate business, trying to be successful at what they're doing. And so that first year, it was kind of awkward because we really didn't meet a whole lot of people. I remember the first people that we met, we're still really good friends with them, the Nells down in Utah. And so every year we still have to get our pictures taken together because we did it that first year. And then the next year, we make a couple more relationships, and it's just going to that social hours afterwards, getting around those groups of people, creating those conversations, because I was just a sponge at that point, just trying to absorb everything that I could. And so as we go along of just creating those relationships and getting to know people, and then to where you have those conversations even after those shows, and you get kind of folks that you're holding yourself accountable. It's like, hey, what's working for you? You keep checking up on each other. So over the years, we've really developed those relationships and adopted that. I wouldn't say that we're social in any way. It's not easy for us. Sometimes we just need to leave and go decompress because there's too much talking going on, especially myself. But those relationships that we have now going to those shows, whether it's Midwest or down at Expo or wherever we go, I'm excited. I love the people that we work with. They're such awesome people in this industry, and it just makes my whole month just getting to be able to go and spend time with these people because they're good.
Totally. I feel that way too. You mentioned that part of like your friendships are like there's an accountability there and what's working for you. What would you say is working for you guys really well right now?
Well, right now where we are in our business, I'm not looking to expand. We bought out a few stores and opened up one other one from scratch, or two other ones. So we're not looking to continue to grow. I just want to be the best at what I do. And whether that's, in our area, in our state, or even larger, that would be amazing as well. But I just want to be really super good at what I do. There is a group of pawnbrokers that we all kind of get together at least once or twice a year. We travel to each other's stores. We have the Marco Polo app. I don't know if you know what the Marco Polo app is on your phone. And so we created a group chat within that Marco Polo app years ago. And so we talk daily on that Marco Polo, say, hey, I'm having a problem with this employee, or, this has happened in my store, or how are things going? So with that app, I think there's about 8 of us on there, and we're constantly communicating with each other, helping each other out, lifting each other up, dealing with issues, helping solve these problems that might be in any one of our stores. I mean, we're on there all the time, and that to us is huge. So if you can create those relationships with groups of people, and just create that bond and hold each other together, and try to use that Marco Polo app, it's phenomenal.
That's awesome. I think that being any kind of leader or like owner of a particular type of business, like, you have so much in common. The problems that you face are the same as everybody else across the country. I know that I'm in Young Presidents Organization, YPO, and it's all like young CEOs basically, under 40. And the problem, and it's industry agnostic, so it doesn't matter. But all of the issues, like when you talk, it's like, oh yeah, I've had that issue, or that feels like something that I might be experiencing right now. It's just nice to like have people to talk through things with, whether they've experienced it or not. Like, at least they can put themselves in your shoes and like be empathetic and try to like help you walk through that. That's awesome.
Absolutely. We shouldn't have to. There's so many good people in this industry. We shouldn't have to think that we can have to travel it alone and do it all on ourselves, because most of the stuff that we do, we stole from someone else anyway.
Yeah.
And so we're all there to help each other out and help lift each other up and grow.
Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you're facing today, and how are you addressing them or trying to overcome them?
Right now, a couple of things that we're really working on hard right now is, after listening to Jeff Wilhelm, and Jeff is so full of wisdom.
Yep.
He's got me really looking at our transactional rates, trying to get our transactions up, not be so numbers focused, but look at the overall transactions and try to lift those up. So that's one huge goal that I have right now. And the other one has just been kind of an ongoing problem since COVID, is finding the right staffing. Most of our stores are doing really, really well with staffing. It seems like there's always something that's going to happen. Someone moves out, someone gets a new job that pays more, someone gets sick, someone has mental health crisis, whatever, that you always have that flux. So I have goals for our store right now that I want to find a general manager that can manage all my stores. That's my goal. That's not going to be easy for me to do. And someone that understands the industry. I don't know what that's going to cost me, or how hard, what the vetting process is going to be, because this is new for me.
Yeah.
But that is ultimately my goal right now, is to find someone that will help me keep track and hold my stores accountable to make sure that we're all doing what we should be doing.
Same.
Yes.
I think the people thing is like so hard. Post-COVID, it feels like people don't want to work maybe the same that they did pre-COVID. I just went to a conference 2 weeks ago, and it talked a lot about hiring and finding the right people. And one of the things that they said was, when you're hiring for a role that maybe you've never had before, or where you've made a mishire, just interview one person per week. Like, just get it on the calendar. Doesn't matter, like, if you know them, if you don't know them, if they walk through your front door, just get like the process built of talking to at least one person per week. Don't be picky about like if their resume doesn't match perfectly. A lot of the best hires right now are like kind of a stretch hire, so somebody that's hungry for it but hasn't necessarily done it all. And maybe that will be helpful for you. I'm just starting to put that together for me, like blocking out 2 hours on my Fridays and just like interviewing people just to get to know like what roles can be and what the potential is and what ideas people have that are new that maybe I haven't thought of. So that was like interesting because I don't love interviewing. I'll put that off like as long as possible, but it's like it's so critical, and you're like one hire away always from, I think, either transforming your business or changing, you know, the way that you work or your ability to, you know, I think implement things. And so, good luck.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Well,
Yeah.
it's an ongoing problem. I know it's never going to end.
No, the people thing never ends.
No.
People are dynamic like that.
It's the hardest part about what we do.
It is. It is. What would be some of your advice for somebody that's brand new getting into the industry today?
Run a clean store. I think pawn shops have changed a lot since we've been involved, or they started changing before we got involved. I say, and what's really important for me is we're running a clean store. We're trying to make a positive image on the pawn industry all the time. And so, you know, we travel to DC every year, and we go and for the legislative conference, and we go to Capitol Hill and talk to our legislators. I mean, we go that far to break that mold of what a pawn shop is, because we're constantly educating people. That's all we constantly do. And so to run a clean store, to do the right thing, and to be a positive light in the community and to help out, you know, just I have a couple of previous employees that had left us 4 or 5 years ago, and they went and created their own pawn shop. They have 2 really small pawn shops in the area, and I can see them doing all these negative things that we didn't want done, which is, you know, we wouldn't allow done. You look at their store, it looks like a mini Lowe's or Home Depot in there. It's like, are you kidding? That is so negative to what people's perception of what the pawn industry should be. You know, what do you say to that?
Yeah.
So, but all I can do is focus on ourselves
Yeah.
and make sure that we're doing the right thing and being a positive light for our industry.
I love that. Just run a clean shop, sort of all the way around. The way it looks, the way it feels, the way you operate it, the way you run it.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good advice. One of the things that I talked with Beth a lot, I know you guys spend a lot of time on building your teams and leadership and culture. How are you involved in that? What's your like inspiration in building teams, building your culture?
I'm not the best for building teams. I mean, I love culture, and one thing in the culture of our stores is everybody does have to work really well together. If we hire in someone that doesn't fit within our culture, I'll cut them out right away.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not going to bring someone in that's going to be a cancer into our culture of what we have going on. It's not worth it. And even if it's a longer term employee that becomes cancerous, that we need to address that and or cut that out as well, because that's going to spread throughout our whole business like wildfire, and we can't have that. And so for me, I'm not on the floor on a day-to-day basis in all the stores, obviously, but my communication, so our goal is to go into each of the store at least once a week. And so, you know, we do a lot of driving around and to go in there. But when I go in there, I want it to be positive things that I say. You know, I might address something with a manager if I see something, but I really try not to get into anything negative with them at all. You know, like Beth says, we want to, you know, spread glitter and give out high fives when we go in there, because we don't want it to be a negative thing when boss comes walking through the door. And so that's important to us, and we continue to lift them up and to give them the tools that they need in order to succeed. And I always tell them that, is there anything that I can do for you, you know, while we're in here? And that could be on the personal side, that could be on the business side. It doesn't matter, because we're like a family, and I know it's kind of cliche, but I mean, we truly care about the people that work for us, and we want to see what's best for them. But we also need to pay attention to the bottom line. Why are we here? And that is to make money. We have a business to run as well. And so, you know, how can we do all these things cohesively and be happy and have fun with what we're doing?
I think that's super awesome. Probably easier to replicate that when you have like one store, but to put the effort in to visit all 5 stores once a week and kind of like be intentional about how you are when you walk into the store is super important. And yeah, I think that that's very cool. I remember driving around to stores all the time with my dad growing up. We were always popping in. I don't think that we were necessarily like spreading glitter and giving high fives. I think that there was maybe like, oh my God, the boss is here. But there was definitely like an accountability of just knowing that like at any point my dad was going to walk through the store. And yeah, I love that.
Well, I think you're always going to have that.
Yeah.
And I say, what? Why would they be nervous? Like, wow, because you're a boss. I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
whatever. Just do your job. I'm there to do my job, and
Yeah.
we'll get through it. So.
Talk to me a little bit about how you have gotten involved in like your local community or giving back to your community events, things like that.
Mm-hmm. We've done some fundraisers for local charities. In our luxury store, I think it's next month, we're actually partnering with the Ronald McDonald House, because that's in downtown Portland, connected to Dornbecker's Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
And so in our luxury store, we're going to be running a sale, and a portion of all those proceeds are going to be going back to Dornbecker's. Beth and I went and toured not the hospital, but Ronald McDonald House itself. And oh my gosh, what a uplifting group of people, and what a difference they're making in others' lives when they're going through such crisis in their lives. You know, their kids have cancer, and Ronald McDonald's House gives them a place to stay, no cost, all, food, feeds them, shelters them, because these people are coming from out of town. I mean, they might live 200 miles away or in a different state, so they have to go there and be with their child in that time of crisis. So what a great organization to be able to partner with. And so just got a text yesterday from our CPA saying, hey, we're doing this fundraiser at the end of the year. I can't remember what it's called, some Christmas tree of diamonds or something like that. So he asked us if we'd be interested in being involved. And I said, yes, absolutely. Enough said. We're there. And so, if we have the opportunity to go in there and maybe, get some inexpensive lab-grown diamonds, we'll donate some 1-2 carat studs or maybe some pendants in order to help them fundraise. So we always like to be involved. I'm kind of a sucker for, especially being asked by kids to help donate to their baseball or football and whatever it might be. But just being involved and giving back to the people that give to us for sure.
How do you start that? Like for somebody that's not currently doing anything philanthropic but wants to, like where would you start?
I just reach out to them. I mean, Beth typically does all of that. I mean, I'm usually working on the business and in the business, and she's really good at, doing all the back end stuff that I'm terrible at. Mm-hmm. But it's just a matter of contacting these people. I mean, what nonprofit doesn't want your support, honestly? And so you just have to ask, say, hey, I want to give you guys money. I want to do a fundraiser for you guys. I want to do a food bank, a food drop for you, and bring in a bucket or something that we can fill up. We did, I can't remember exactly what it was called for several years, but it was basically gathering shoes. And people would bring in shoes and throw them in a barrel, and we would donate them to a bunch of kids. And so it's just little things like that. We're not looking for recognition on it, and it's probably making a very small impact in the scheme of things, but we are doing something. We're trying to help out the people.
Yeah, I think we've gone through something kind of similar over the last several years, where eventually we just decided to include a philanthropic arm of our core values. So it's like front and center, we have four core values. It's one of them. And we also pay a PTO day every year for every employee to go work in a philanthropy of their choice as well, in addition to the ones, like we're all remote. So we've got like a kind of a small group of people here in Reno. There's 5 of us. We go to volunteer together. But across the company, trying to get like remote people in 14 states to do something. I think it's super meaningful. And then what happens, I think, when you start promoting it is then people will come to me and they're like, hey, I'm running this 10K race for this cause. Like, will you donate? And those are like the easiest ways to give back and also, I think, support your employees for doing things even outside the store that are philanthropic.
Absolutely. I think one of the best ones that we did, and this kind of ended about 5 years ago because I stole the idea from, who was it? It was Brian Garrett down at Tom's Pond in
Yep.
Texas. So he had built blessing boxes and or had them built, and
Yeah.
people just come in. The community can come fill them up with canned food, and other people that in need would come and take that canned food out. And so I built a really nice wood blessing box and stuff. You know, I spent a day or two building it out, and it was nice. And it was sitting right next to our cigarette bin thing where people
Yeah.
drop their cigs in before they walk in. And that caught on fire. And then I burned up my blessing box. And this is before our big fire in our Salem store. So the blessing box has been gone, and I've just never got around because I was so mad at the smokers for burning up the blessing box that it ticked me off. I never got around to rebuilding it. So
I
it's
love
just
the
something
blessing
that's-
box. I actually have sent stuff to them before to put in there. I
Have
had
you?
never seen that until they posted it for the first time. I just thought that was like so cool.
It is cool.
I also have been affected by fires similarly. Like, I had a house burned down from a fire. I had a moving trailer with all of my stuff burned down in a fire. So, like, I get the fire thing. It's just, like, so angry at it.
Yeah, we don't even want to say the F word around here.
No,
So
no F words. All right. I think that's it. I guess to wrap things up, if you could, I guess one low-hanging piece of advice to give to somebody, it can be related to like marketing efforts or a cool, commission spiff thing that you've done for employees or something that's moved the needle maybe that wasn't like super challenging to implement.
We just got through having a couple of contests for our employees. So we send out, so one of the things that we'll ask our employees, we'll ask them, how's our communication with you and this and that. Then we always heard, well, you guys have poor communication. We don't know what's going on. So Beth does a really nice newsletter and sends it out to all the employees, kind of gives a breakdown of, who did what for the month, the highlights of all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. And then in that newsletter, she had a line in there that said, hey, I think it was email me back the certain phrase and I'll give you $50. It's like, okay, we're going to figure out who in the heck is reading our newsletter because we're not going to want to listen to anybody that says you have poor communication when you're not even reading the newsletters that we're sending out. So the people that did it, we just walked up to them and handed them a $50 bill. Said, hey, thank you. Good job. And
That's
other people,
awesome.
they didn't
What
get any.
percentage of people was that?
Oh, like 10%.
Yeah. I communication is so hard. That's part of like culture and building teams and leadership. Like I'm constantly, we went from like 60 to 100 to 140 employees, and like it's so hard to, I feel like most of my day is just like communicating up, down, side to side. But I post on Fridays like a weekly video wrap up for my entire company of what's going on. So everybody feels in the loop of what we're doing, why we're doing it. And it's funny, sometimes I'll have like 100 people watch, and then sometimes it's like 10. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess nobody's going to know what's going on this week.
Yeah.
Like it's like the engagement piece, and like trying to keep people constantly engaged with what's going on is really hard. But like when people are engaged, you get so much like reciprocated. So that's awesome. I love that. I bet more people start reading the newsletter.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, giving out little perks and stuff that aren't expected from the
Yeah.
team. And so it just helps build them up as well. They get excited about different things. So it's just fun. You just have a good time doing what you're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.